Joining me now in the studio to discuss this story in a little more detail is boxing writer and SBS analyst Paul Upham. Paul, thanks for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Liz.
Hi. Now, you've been close to both camps for the past week. Were you surprised, like everyone else, that Mundine, has basically withdrawn?
I think it was the right decision, Liz. I've talked to people very close to the camp, and Anthony's illness sort of come about over the weekend. I have no doubt that he is sick, he has got the flu, and people have to remember that it is such an important fight for Anthony Mundine. This is a career-defining fight for him, and for him to lose, you have to question his future involvement in the sport of boxing. It would probably take 2 years to get back to this point. He's 28 now, he'll be 30 then. So with boxing, you have to be perfect all of the time. If you lose, that really puts you back down to the bottom of the tree. So if Anthony Mundine is sick, for him and his father and his camp to make that decision, it's a tough decision, a courageous decision with the pressure involved and also the criticism that he knows he would receive. I think it's the right thing to do because, he wants to be 100% when he gets into the ring.
Now, how will this postponement affect both boxers?
Well, obviously, I think the effect on Echols is substantial because he has to travel back to the US now. There's still some question marks on whether he'd get back in the country. He had to get special permission for a visa. He's got a court case on gun charges coming up. Who knows how that will come out. And obviously now Mundine can recover at home, start training again, and he doesn't have to make that big, long flight. So obviously I think Echols is affected substantially in this fight being rescheduled.
How about psychologically, for Anthony? It must be a very big disappointment that he had to withdraw.
Tremendous disappointment. This is what he's pumped himself up. He's promised the Australian public that he's going to be world champion. So I think there's some embarrassment there, obviously some disappointment of his own. But I think the good thing is for Anthony, it's been rescheduled. It's 4 weeks away. We know it's going to happen. Echols is definitely saying he's going to be here. So, Anthony Mundine still has the chance to do exactly what he said he's going to do. Well,
is the fight's scheduled for September 3rd? Can he definitely get back? Can Echols definitely get back into the country? There are those visa problems.
Well, we'll talk to his attorney, Lamont Jones, and he wrote a special letter to the Australian government to get permission to come in, and he doesn't have any doubts. I don't think they would leave the country again now if they thought it was going to be a problem. They would stay here, but obviously Echols' training team has to go home, so he wants to be there back with them, so when he comes back here, he'll be 100% for the fight.
Now, there's also a lot of interest in tomorrow's undercard, in particular the British heavyweight Audley Harrison. What happens with him now? It must be disappointing for him.
Harrison has a set schedule now. He'll move on to his next fight, whether it's in the UK or the US. He really wanted to broaden his horizons on a world scale. I believe he may come back here and fight the Australian heavyweight champion Bob Mirovic later this year, so we may get to see Audley, but his tight schedule didn't allow him to stay for that September 3 fight, which is disappointing for the fans.
Just quickly, Danny Green, he's flying out to Germany tomorrow for his world title fight.
Well, this means that Danny Green now has the opportunity to win that world title first, and him and his trainer Jeff Fennick can get bragging rights over Mundine. It's really good for Australian sport and Australian boxing.
Do you think he can beat Marcus Bayer?
I think he's got a very good chance. It's a good fight, hard to fight to win in Germany, but I think Danny Green's a special talent. He can win this.
OK, look, thanks for your time tonight, Paul.
Pleasure.
See you again.